identity. She highlights that she spends her time in different places involved with mobs, Regent Park and Heather shops, and her gathering with the devout women helped her to, let's say, to find her path. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Thank you very much, ikram. Even though we would have liked to see you, why are you covering yourself? Hello? So,
Hello.
yeah, thank you very much. Sorry? Okay. Now, we have already trespassed on the coffee break and on the other session. So please, if you have any questions, just be as brief as possible, and the same thing for answers. Any questions? So we have 1, 2, 3, 4. So we have 4 questions. Yes.
Okay, so my question is initially addressed to Dr. Asma, and also can touch upon Dr. Shahid's presentation. Syncretism from whose point of view? The West white colonizer or the African West Indian colonized? Let me elaborate. For according to Edward Said, the other is stigmatized with the inferiority, savagery, and civilization. Let me quote Joseph Conrad's protagonist, Kurtz, in Heart of Darkness: exterminate the brutes, and it is brutally stated. So, to go back to the question, whose point of view, because I found difficulty promoting you.
Actually, just a moment, Asma. Then we are going to have a second, the 3 other questions, and then you will answer. The second question, please.
Okay, thank you for these captivating presentations. They will definitely be of great help for us. My question is to Dr. Asma Krifa. You talked about the impact of Christianity. While Christianity itself is a hybrid religion because of the effect of the Protestant Reformation, of course. Now, my question is, with the colonization, wars, trade, and now technology, do you think that there is such a thing as pure identity or pure religion or pure race?
Okay, thank you.
Thank you so much, everyone. My question is also dedicated to Mrs. Asma Krifa. So, Mrs. Asma, based on your studies on religions and how do they emerge and how they develop over time, do you think that one day we can talk about, one day in the far future, let's say, we can talk about a sort of amalgamation or syncretism that includes Islam, Christianity, and Judaism? Thank you. Yes.
Yes.
And by any stretch of the imagination, can that happen one day? That's my question.
Okay, we have one question over there, and we finished. I think that is 4 minutes. And then Professor Kapoor, last question. Okay.
My question is for Dr. Ramit Masoudi. If you don't mind, I'd like to come near the PC so that you can hear me.
Sorry. Rafiq Masoudi, do you hear us? Yes.
Can you hear me?
Yes. If you go over there,
Yes,
I don't
yes.
know.
I'd like to.
Yes, okay. Very quickly, I don't know.
I'm listening to your question, but please can you speak up?
Oh, here is a question for you.
Okay, can you hear me now?
Yes, I can hear you.
Okay, so you talked about resistance, and my question is about well, I have a confusion when to applying post-colonial theory on any literary text. Let's say, it's Toni Morrison's novel. We have characters that were former slaves, and the novel has flashbacks that take us back to the period of slavery. So, can we talk about victimization? Because I think it's a fallacy. So the question is the following: is the notion of victimization and to expose the inferiority of the reinforced perception of the other that was reinforced on the blacks or the slaves by the whites. Is that a policy? Because resistance means that in a postmodern, in post-colonial literature, means that the characters of the novel have to resist that perception of the inferior other.
Okay, thank you very much. And Professor Nadia, it is the last question.
Then I was really glad to hear that you are going to talk about dramatic work, because we can't all talk about poetry and fiction. And you talked about, all the same things about hybridity, crisis of identity, ambivalence, this notion of doubleness that African Americans, artists and ordinary people cope with. But my question here, since you are dealing with dramatic work, what kind of stylistic devices, stage directions, the verbal utterances and exchanges between the characters, how do they contribute to articulate this notion of doubleness and hybridity, seeing that you are dealing with a specific text, this is a dramatic text? Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much. Now we start with you, and then please.
Yeah, of course. So when it comes to the first question in relation to which perspective I adopted when dealing with religious syncretism in the West Indies, well, I tried to make it neutral, and I adopted basically an anthropological perspective, because Roger Steele, for example, is one of the anthropologists who worked on religious syncretism. Of course, when it comes to the analysis of the text, I cannot, because I have to follow the perspective of the author herself. So it was predominantly from a West Indian perspective, the slave's perspective, to be more specific. That's when it comes at the level, to the level of the textual analysis of the two novels. Yeah, it was predominantly from an anthropological perspective when it comes to the theoretical background, at least. Now, coming to the second question, it was in relation to what extent can we talk about the purity of Christianity. Well, this is why I did not say that Christianity was a pure religion. I said it was monotheistic, which is a totally different thing. Because monotheism is basically the belief in one God, one divinity. So this is why I had to talk about the concept of hierarchy, because if you have one center, which is God as the origin, then everything else and everyone else is going to be to figure in the other steps of the hierarchy. And of course that includes other people's religious beliefs, like African-based religions, for example, which is not the same case when it comes to communotheistic religions, basically, because all the gods are actually a community of gods. That's the idea. So they have one ontological source, like if we think about the ancient Egyptian religion as an example, we have Ra, who is the ontological source of all divinity, and then we have all the gods who actually have more or less the same power. They do not figure as evil or good. They just have powers. They have roles to fulfill, and of course the human community inspired. Well, that's a whole different topic. Who was inspired by the other community. So the human community, let's say, reflects the same principle that everyone was equal. There are no hierarchies, and all in African-based religions, basically. This is why I opted for monotheism. I did not talk about the purity of Christianity, because that's a whole different matter. Coming to the final question. Well, that would be a tricky question, actually, because personally I believe that already exists. Because of the continuity between the religions and everything, they build on each other. There are common aspects and all. So to a certain extent, it does exist. Whether it's going to be deeper in the future, we don't know. It depends on how humans are going to perceive the sacredness of the textual religious books. So,
But sorry, but I mean, this continuity, which supposedly ends with Islam, and it comes to us, this is our religion, and we are happy, but not about other religions.
That's another actually thing, because for example, when I studied pantheistic religions, Asian pantheistic religions basically, in addition to African-based religions, monotheistic religions, I actually was able to start down some principles that exist in monotheistic religions like Islam, Judaism, and Christianity. This is why I wanted to talk about this, because it's a whole other debate. Because even paganism actually includes some of the premises of monotheistic religions.
Sure. Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you very much. And
Your question.
One question, two questions?
One
At
question
least
from
one.
Professor
Okay, great.
That's true. Since we are dealing with the play or theater, we should, mention the theatricality, the oral codes, lights and sounds, style, imagery, etc. Mind that Adrian Kennedy's style is very specific, and this helps her to, to form or to shape her own identity in writing plays. And this also helps me, of course, in my paper. She uses, for example, a very specific, stage directions, stage instructions, the use of the, as I said, sounds and lights, different lights, different colors, and especially she, she puts the light on the two colors, black and white. Black and then she comes back to the black in order to remember the characters that you are black. Don't move to the white, and then she moves to the white, etc. This is the play of colors. And also she is very known, Adrian Kennedy, for fragmentation. She uses fragmentation as a style, in the writing. By the way, her plays, which are the masterpiece. Her plays, for example, Final Herbs from Negro, which is just 2 pages. And these 2 pages are referred and repeated 23 times. This is a play. And though she breaks with all conventions in writing plays, Adrian Kennedy, from time to time, she comes back to the conventions. And this is a kind of her ambivalence too.
And hybridity.
Yes, of course, hybridity, and her ambivalent, vision towards hybrid. But anyway, that's it.
That's it. You answered this very well. Thank you very much for attending this session. You have a coffee break, or you come back. Okay.
There is a question from.
Yes. So, Rafiq Masoudi, could you please answer the question addressed to you?
Yes. As a response for, the question about, as I understood, the relation between post-colonial perspective and resistance to colonialism. I would say that, post-colonialism in general and the post-colonial poetry in particular, has got a nationalist context. It's a kind of reaction to the colonial
very much. You have answered this in a clear way. Thank you for the participants, Rafiq Masoudi, Asma Krifa, Salah Shraiti, and Ikram lechheb. Okay, coffee break, and please come back for the last session in 30 minutes. Okay.